Hey guys, Slynk here with a bit of a different video today. So a few days ago, my buddy Kermode hit me up and asked me to be a part of his podcast called the Kermodecast. And it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of chats. We were talking about like how I got started in like making YouTube tutorials and how my DJ producer career got started. And, like why do I even do these tutorials? And just like general like music industry kind of stuff. And we talk about like video games and stuff. It's pretty casual. Anyways, I thought I'd throw it up on my YouTube channel. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Peace.
Honestly, we could just get started like right now. The whole idea of this podcast is just to kind of shoot the shit, pretty casual, pretty unofficial, so we don't have to worry about it. But I know you and I talked a little bit about this already, but how you holding up? How's the whole quarantine life treating you?
It's tough, man. Like I'm used to being alone a lot of the time because I'm just here in my studio working on stuff. And like I'm generally like a pretty home type person. But as soon as someone tells me that I can't go out, then I'm like, well, maybe I want to go out now.
Yeah.
You know?
Dude, I found that too. I found like the psychology of it is what has been messing me up. Because similarly, I can hang out in this apartment day in, day out, and it doesn't affect me. But then the second I can't leave, that's when it starts messing with me. And it totally makes you understand how like solitary confinement is just the absolute worst form of imprisonment for someone.
Oh my God. It would be hell. It would be so hell.
Yeah, imagine decades of just being alone.
Oh my God.
I saw a video actually of a guy who was in solitary, and his reward for being well behaved is he'd get a bouncy ball, and he'd get to bounce a ball off a wall.
Oh man.
Yeah. It's fucking insane.
That's just torturous. I mean,
it is.
That's awful. That's awful.
But granted, I'm sure a lot of those people are in there for a reason.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, yeah.
So how has it affected work? So I know obviously you get a little bit of stuff coming in from the tutorials, but most of your income, I'm sure, comes from gigs. So now that you can't gig, like where are you at? How are you doing? Are you stressing out? What's kind of the game plan?
Yeah, like you're right. Most of my income comes from gigs. I make like pennies from streaming on Spotify and selling songs. And I make a little bit from selling stuff on my website, like my Essential Ableton toolbox.
Check it out.
Check it out. Slynk.net.
Yeah.
Go there. It's only $10.
Yeah.
And yeah, I make some money from YouTube. Companies will approach me and say, hey, I've got this product. Can you make a tutorial video about it? And I'll do like a sponsored video. So I've got those things, but it's really not enough to live on. But the Canadian government come in with the CERB cash.
Yeah, you managed to apply for it, okay?
So yeah. Shout outs to Tim Livingstone from Ski Tour for posting up like some handy tips on how to navigate the CRA website, because it was a little bit weird.
I know. I was wrestling it for so long, and I ended up getting blocked out for some reason. Like anytime I'd put in my social insurance number, it'd say my account was down, and then I was on hold for a few hours. And I mean, obviously worth it in the long run, but
did you sort yours out?
Yeah, I sorted mine out. And the first little bit of cash came through already, so that's super helpful. Because same for me, like gigs are down, and although I can do some like private teaching and stuff, I don't know how it's gonna work if I even do like a few hours and apply for CERB. So I don't really know.
I know, like because how do you like judge, like, because it says you've got to be not working for like 14 days or something, but like, I mean, I'm really working every day, but it doesn't mean like I could work every day on my Shambhala mix and then play for 1 hour at Shambhala and make a bunch of money all at once. Yeah. And it's so how do you define like when I made that money and when I didn't make that money?
Yeah, it's so interesting.
It's a little bit strange. But I was talking to B-Dice, and he said that like sales and Spotify streams and YouTube ad revenue and stuff, he would classify that as royalties, not necessarily like paychecks. You know?
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. And even like selling stuff on a website, I would probably classify that as royalties as well.
And
But it gets a little bit gray with like sponsored videos and getting paid for that. So I'm not really sure.
And what about you? Like, you're not from Canada. Are you a citizen?
I'm a permanent resident of Canada.
Oh, okay.
So
So you qualify as a permanent resident.
I have all the same rights as you do,
Yeah.
except I can't vote. That's the only thing.
Oh,
And I don't have a Canadian passport, but I
Yeah.
have a card that says I live here permanently.
oh,
So
cool.
yeah.
How are things back home then? Like, how's Australia?
Um, I think like my dad's kind of like me. He doesn't really leave the house all that much. So, and his girlfriend just comes over and cooks him food and stuff.
Yeah.
So he's like, I'm sweet.
Yeah.
He already hates going to the grocery store. So he's going even less now.
Nice.
So I think he's like, social distancing. Hell yeah. This is my favorite thing ever.
Yeah.
And my brother and his wife, I mean, everything in Australia is like, I don't think it's as bad in Australia as it is in Canada, because like things just seem to be continuing on as normal. Like
Oh,
my
really?
brother and his wife, like they sold their place. They're looking at a new place.
Well, that's good. I see. I totally heard misinformation. I thought Australia had been bad, like more cases, but I honestly really am not paying attention to too much else other than the US. So I don't really know.
Yeah. I mean, well, I think Australia was getting hit worse with like the fires and stuff.
Hmm.
Basically, 2020 has been a pretty shit year so far
I
for
know.
Australia and for the world,
Yeah.
actually.
I was so stoked. I was like, man, this year, 2020 vision, like everyone's going to be
Yeah.
working so hard. It's going to be the big year. And then just slammed, got to stay in. I mean, obviously
Yeah.
for us, we're staying in, which is pretty normal, but has it affected your creativity? Like kind of this looming stress and the lack of social stuff? Like, do you find you can work as well? Or are you in this weird state of mind? I kind of am.
Yeah, no, it's really affected the way that I function altogether because, I really kind of have a routine down, or I have had lately, over the last like 10 months or so. I've kind of been like focusing on my physical health, which has in turn improved like my productivity in the studio and stuff.
Yeah, I
So,
saw your apps on Facebook.
yeah, so I've been going to the rock climbing gym a lot, and with the rock climbing gym closed and no real way to kind of work out except like do pull-ups at home and stuff, it's kind of a bit demoralizing, and you just kind of end up going down the spiral of like, what's the point? I'm getting paid from the government anyways. Like, why even bother do anything? I'm just gonna play video games all day. So you really got to be like, you got to make a huge effort to just
Totally.
be like, no, I'm doing some shit today and it's going to be great.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk.
Tough though.
Yeah, let's talk about something more positive then. So you recently posted that H3H3 included one of your songs in their most recent video, or what was their most recent video at the time.
Yeah, the COVID-19 video.
So was that was that song? I know you did an album for YouTube that essentially is for the purpose of people having music that they can use that isn't copyright. Was it from that album, or was it off like your own catalog?
Yeah, it was from that album. So yeah, I wrote an album. Like actually Google approached me and they said, we want you to write 10 songs for the YouTube audio library, and we're going to pay you a large sum of money, and then that's all the money you'll get from those songs.
Yeah, just like a flat rate.
Basically, we're buying those songs off you, and then we're going to pretend that we own them and do everything that we would do if we owned the songs, because they do own the songs. But my name is on there, like I'm credited.
Yeah, I think
so
we have a collab on there actually.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. So thank you for that. Actually,
No, I mean,
it was stress. I remember talking to you about it. It was stressful because I had to write like 10 songs in like 2 months or 3 months. And I know we had that collab started, and I was just like, oh, can we just use that?
Hey, I mean, I'm happy it's on the YouTube library. Who knows? Maybe it'll show up in another H3. It'll like that one will show
Yeah,
up.
who knows, man?
That's cool though, because
Totally.
that's actually how we started talking in person. I don't know if you remember, but I think we had talked online a couple times, and then you were at the Red Room in Vancouver, and you were wearing an H3 shirt, and like I really liked H3,
Oh.
and I like came up to you, I'm like, yo, is that an H3 shirt? And that's kind of how we actually first started talking in person, was about H3 and like PewDiePie and like
Yeah.
YouTubers and the whole YouTube culture.
Yeah. That's so funny. But like the reason I even knew who you were is because I saw your old YouTube channel. I was like, who's this guy popping up doing all these cool tutorial videos? And I thought your tutorial videos were really good. And then you kind of disappeared off the map a bit working with somatics, but you were already on my radar.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Similarly, you were on mine. Like, I mean, granted, you've also kind of got a name established in the BC scene. So like, I knew you from YouTube, and then I also knew you from like Shambhala culture and all of that. Speaking of, you posted the other day. You've played there 9 years, have you not?
Yeah, 9 times.
9-year resident at
Yeah,
Shambhala.
and I'm booked to play for this year, but who knows if
Yeah.
that's going to actually happen.
So up in the
But
air.
it's going to be my 10th year, whenever that is.
Yeah.
September 21.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I mean, they've started doing online shows with like moon tricks and stuff like that. Who knows? Maybe they'd get you on for that.
Yeah, maybe.
Like
I don't know how I feel about the whole online show thing. And actually, maybe I'll ask you about that
Yeah,
because
definitely.
you recently did a set at the Red Room
Yeah.
live on Twitch.
Yeah.
How did it feel? Was it weird? How many cameras do they have?
They had
Tell me everything
4
about
or
it.
5 cameras, and then it's 3 people, like, or a bunch of people, not a bunch of people, a very small handful of people, kind of very spread throughout the room. It's like video guys way off in one corner, Blake's off in one corner, and then DJ's there. And then DJs have a very strict in and out, like they can't hang out. And then I think Blake goes up and sanitizes everything between sets. But in terms of
I did see him doing that. Yeah.
oh, you did.
Yeah, he's up there wiping everything down. Like
I don't know if cameras are
I saw
supposed to be
someone
on
in the
for that.
chat. I saw someone in the chat say like that between every sets they just take all the CDJ 2000s and put them in the garbage.
With a hazmat suit and like
Yeah.
bring on a full
Set
new
them
one.
on fire.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So, obviously you're well aware that performing a set is so much about the vibe of the room and the sound system and, feeling the energy. So it didn't really feel like that by any means. Like you're kind of just playing to an empty room, which is very bizarre. And it's this totally different mindset where I know the people at home are listening on headphones, listening on their TV. So it's like the mix had to be done very cleanly and precisely because I knew anything that sounded even kind of bad would be really noticeable at home. So I actually brought my mixing headphone, like my producing headphones, to the club because I wanted to like be listening on production quality. But it's interesting. It's also a lot of pressure in the sense that if you fuck up big time, it's like permanently on video and people can like see your hands and what you're doing and if you can mess up. And I had 2 mess ups that killed me. There was I played 2 things because I'm using Ableton, right? So I triggered 2 things a bar early by accident. So it's like 3 bars and then a change, and then 3 bars and then a change. So you're like in the groove, and then suddenly it switched. So that, or no, one time I pressed a clip, and Ableton was like delayed, so it hit, and then it re-triggered the clip, and it hit like the kick again a bar later. So
Oh shit.
yeah, so it's kind of weird, but it's fun. It's not the same as a DJ set, but
Do they have like all the speakers on or what? Or they
Yeah,
just
actually-
have the booth speakers on?
No, they had front of house. It was kind of quiet though. It was front of house, booths, and I had my headphones, but I didn't take my headphones off because, I'm sure you feel this way too. When you're playing live, so much of it is the low end. It's actually, for me at least, live, it's really hard to mix high end, especially when I'm playing to a big room because I'm also wearing earplugs. So I find actually the highs and the mids are really hard to balance, and I'm usually a bit more kind of like chunky in how I switch between them instead of like really finessing it. So I turned down the booth and I asked them to turn down front of house a little, and then I just wore headphones because you had to be like super clean with it. But they did have the full system going, which you can't really tell
it's
at home.
it's definitely interesting DJing to like a direct line out into whatever the consumer is, or not the consumer, but whoever's watching. on their shitty speakers or
Yeah.
out of their phone speaker or whatever.
Exactly.
Like,
I think what it
yeah.
would have made it more awesome is if I had had a separate screen just for the Twitch chat, because then I could have seen how people were reacting. Because my favorite part was when I went home the next day, I actually watched it originally with the purpose of just seeing how I could perform better and, be more lively on stage and maybe mix a little better. But then I ended up just looking at the Twitch chat the whole time, and it was so funny, dude. Like that was the best part. Just you guys talking about eggs, and I don't even know.
The egg and the bread, and we were joking about how you're like Blake's son.
Yeah, which is really funny because me and Nikki, when he's not around, call him Poppy. Yeah, like I don't even call him Blake. We just call him Poppy.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, they really need to get like a little screen up for you guys so you can interact with the chat, because I think like as a watcher of the Twitch stream, I really want to type something and then have you, while you're DJing, grab the mic and be like, "Oh, what's up? I can see you. I see you in the chat.
Exactly.
Like, what's up, everybody in the chat?" And then even interact with like the topics that we're talking about or whatever.
And I think some people did that with their phone, and obviously that's why Blake was doing it. But one big thing is because I had my headphones, I actually couldn't hear what Blake was saying. So for example, there was one point where I was playing a bootleg I did of Rez, and then Blake like messed up. He's like, "Oh, yo, Kermode original," and then everyone in the chat's like, "That's fucking Rez." And like had I heard that, I would have corrected it. But then I just like nodded at him, and I was like, "Yeah," which means like I took credit for this bootleg that's not even my song.
But you were saying how it's like recorded on video forever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's the case, because if you go to the past broadcasts on the Twitch page, I think they eventually expire.
They do expire, but I'm going to re-upload the stream, like my set, to my YouTube.
Oh, yeah, totally do that. Also, you might get like on Twitch, I'm not sure how it works with digital motion events, but wouldn't they get flagged for copyright for people playing like people's songs?
I think there is copyright problems on Twitch, but Blake says he hasn't run into them yet. So I really don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so surprising, actually.
Yeah, he hasn't gotten flagged or anything yet either.
I think when you look at the past broadcasts, sometimes there'll be sections of audio that's muted.
Oh, that's definitely might happen.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the one nice thing about electronic music is usually it's only kind of the stuff that's signed to labels and a little bit bigger that gets copyright claimed. Although nowadays more and more is getting copyright claimed. Like if I upload a mix to YouTube, I get like 15 emails right away saying like...
I know, it's so risky too, because one of those people could just be like, you know what? I'm going to fuck this guy's fucking life up and just hit him with copyright sanctions.
Yeah.
And instead of saying, all right, we're taking his money, like his ad revenue from that video, they can just be like, fuck this guy forever, and put a strike on his account and stop him from uploading.
Exactly.
But I think like it used to be worse than it is now. Like uploading stuff to YouTube used to be really hardcore. If you don't have everything, like the rights to everything, you'll just get a flag on your account and you'll get wrecked, man. Well, now you can pretty much throw up anything, and companies like and labels and stuff are like, yeah, we'll just take the ad revenue. It's fine.
Or don't they? Yeah, and they just pull monetization, so it ends up working out for you. I'm curious. I wonder if the algorithm ends up not presenting it as well if you have a track or a video that's like demonetized. I've always wondered how the algorithm works there. I'm sure there are experts that know. So would you ever Twitch stream? Like, would you ever do a set, or would you ever game? Like, I know you play a lot of Tetris and now Animal Crossing, which I do want to talk about in just a sec. But would you ever, would you start doing Twitch or live streaming? Because you're a phenomenal DJ.
Thought about it.
Like,
thanks, man.
I love your DJ sets.
I think I might be interested in doing it, but I just kind of feel a little discouraged because everyone's kind of doing it already, and it's like hard to be like, hey guys, I'm also streaming along with everyone else on the planet.
Yeah.
So I almost want to avoid it and kind of just do something different. Like I've been focusing more on my YouTube tutorial videos lately, and I don't really know too many DJs who are making tutorial videos on YouTube, for example.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to support the community rather than just like make it all about me. I want to be like, hey, you guys are all at home, all you DJs that are at home right now doing nothing. Why don't you get into production? Let me show you how it works. Let me teach you how to produce. So I want to sort of do that instead of just be like, yo, what's up, guys? Like, I'm a fucking DJ too. Check me out on Twitch all the time.
Definitely.
But that being said, like, I have had thoughts of jumping on the decks and dropping like a funk jam, like a fractal funk jam kind of set just for funsies.
Well, it'd be really cool
So I
too
don't
because
know.
you scratch, and I think like as a DJ, you're really advanced and interesting in the way you play. You know, there's a lot of people that just do very basic CDJ sets or basic Ableton sets, and I think you have a lot to offer in terms of people enjoying it. And I mean, one way to maybe shift your mentality is, I mean, even you doing a DJ set is providing value to people. It's providing pleasure and enjoyment. And I understand though what you mean coming from the education side of things. Speaking of, I actually want to segue onto that. I never even took a chance to plug your account. So maybe tell everyone, you know, who you are, what your YouTube channel is, for the 5 people that don't know who you are. I feel like anyone that knows me knows you, but anyways, for the 5 people, maybe plug it.
Yeah, I mean, just type in Slynk into Google.
Yeah, Slynk. Check out your YouTube. How long have you been
Yeah.
doing tutorials, you think?
I've been making Ableton YouTube tutorials for about 8 years.
Oh, Jesus. So you've been at it for a long time.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And actually, I was just talking to Mr. Bill on chat earlier because we were talking about Arturia Pigments, the new synth. Anyways, I was telling him how he inspired me to get into YouTube. And he'd been doing it like way longer than me. Like, I think he's been doing it for like 12 years or something crazy.
That's crazy.
So I saw some of his videos and I was like, you know what? I've got a few tips to share as well. Maybe I'll make a video too. And then my channel just started.
I think it's really fun. It's like a really unique skill set that not many producers do. And I think it's just a really good way, as you said, to give back, while also, you know, getting your own sort of following from it. I think it's just a really cool sort of community.
You know what I love about making YouTube tutorials? First of all, yeah, I love teaching people. I love helping people because I want to see everyone succeed as much as I have succeeded or more, you know. But on top of that, when I teach something, I always learn the thing better myself.
Yeah.
Like, because once you get on video and start trying to explain something, you realize you don't really know exactly how that works. So you pull up the manual and read it and you're like, oh, okay, like now I have a better understanding of how this works, you know, and it also helps you internalize all the information better when you speak it out loud.
Exactly.
And on top of that, you can rewatch your own videos and remember how to do shit that you used to remember how to do, and maybe you forgot it.
Yeah, you have to be able to articulate it clearly and know everything. That's actually why I had to postpone us doing the podcast yesterday, is I ended up having to teach a lesson today at SAE. They moved completely online. And
true.
I had to teach the science of hearing, like your ear, as well as monitoring. So speaker placement, sub placement, monitor types, you know, near fields, far fields, stuff which I had basic information on, but something to actually articulate for like a 2-hour lesson. I spent like all evening yesterday just making sure I knew everything as well as I could. Because you also have to be ready. Like if someone asks you a question in the comments or something, if you don't know, like beyond just the surface information, then you're just kind of reciting a manual. So it's like you have to know it.
Yeah, you have to really know it, and you've like researched it. And that's the great thing about teaching as well, because someone will ask a question and you won't know the answer to that. But then you'll be like, well, shit, man, I'm going to look up the answer to that. And then you've actually like expanded your knowledge beyond what you knew before you did the lesson.
Totally.
So I always read the YouTube comments, and I've always come up with, well, not always, but sometimes someone in the YouTube comments will be like, hey man, like, I love your tutorial or whatever, but like, check out, like, I've got an idea that can expand on that. And you'll be like, oh, I never even thought of that.
Yeah.
And there's actually like this one comment this dude left I think it was on my video about side chaining, and it totally changed the way I side chain now.
Really?
And I've like have a completely different way of side chaining, even to what I taught in the video.
That's so cool. That's what I think is really cool about electronic music specifically, is that I find like 1 year in electronic music is like 7 years in another genre. Like so many people are bouncing ideas off each other and, you know, combining genres and bouncing ideas off each other, that it grows so quickly, like faster than any other genre. It's
it does.
insane. And the barrier to entry has gotten so much easier when now you just need a laptop. You don't need a guitar. You don't need all this stuff. You just need a laptop, software, and some YouTube tutorials. It's crazy.
Yeah, you can teach anyone who's watching this podcast right now could definitely just teach themselves how to produce music and become a super badass producer DJ.
Yeah.
Like me and you.
Exactly.
And actually, I can say that with confidence because that's exactly what the fuck I did. I just taught myself everything I know.
Yeah.
I didn't take a course. I didn't go to school. I just wanted to know so badly that I opened Ableton and twisted knobs and just like, I just tried really, really hard until I figured it out.
That's why I feel so weird about any sort of praise from another producer, because I'm like, you could do it. Like I have no musical background. I actually like am just kind of faking it. Sometimes I feel like I'm faking it for real.
Yeah. There's that whole imposter syndrome. But when you talk to someone who is completely outside of the music scene and they've heard songs on the radio or whatever, they like music in general. You say something to them about stereo width or a channel or a synthesizer, and their fucking eyes just glaze over and they have no idea. They think what you do on the computer is fucking magic.
Yeah.
And it really puts into perspective like how much knowledge we both actually have about all this production stuff.
True.
Like we know a lot of stuff, man, that most people don't know.
Yeah. But that's not to say it's impossible. It's like any skill.
Absolutely.
It's just like specialized info that you just spend a lot of time learning.
Yeah.
It's like I have a lot of, believe it or not, programmer friends, people that are just insane at programming. And
I believe that.
Blows my mind. Blows my mind. Like I have no clue how they do it. And it's such an interesting skill set to me. It's like a completely other different language.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, totally. I mean, it's like if I walked into a mechanic like shop or something and someone showed me how to change the oil on a car, I'd be like, what the hell is this magic?
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand. Well, you got all these tools. How do you know what they're all called and where do you find them and everything? Yeah, it's like anything, man. You spend enough time like wanting to learn and passionate about it, you'll just figure it out, man.
Yeah. So is there anything so like now that you're a producer, I'm sure meeting another really good producer isn't as exciting as your first year producing or something. So is there anything now that when you find someone super skilled at that, you're super impressed by it? Like I remember last time I came over, I think you were like watched woodworking videos. I know you're really into like crazy Tetris videos. Like are there anything that you enjoy, that you fan over and you think people are gods at?
That's a tricky question. I got to think about that for a second.
Well, even the woodworking, like, you just watched woodworking videos on YouTube and you were a fan of it?
Yeah, I mean, I love watching woodworking videos. It's just like, it's not so much like I'm in awe of like their skills or anything. It's more just kind of like, it's really calming because I relate to these people that just want to make stuff, like whether it's like just create stuff, like whether you're creating music or painting a picture or building something. I just really connect with people that have an idea for a project that's practical, that like they need, like, oh, we need like a toothbrush holder or something. And then they like build it out of fucking wood and then boom, they got a sick like toothbrush holder or something like that.
No, I know what you mean. That's so...
It's so satisfying to me.
For me, I find a lot of similarities actually between producers and DJs and comedians. I really have started to like stand-up comedy.
I love stand-up as well.
I love stand-up. Do you listen to many like stand-up podcasts? I mean, it's not technically stand-up, but podcasts. by stand-up comedians.
Yeah, I listen to the H3 podcast.
Mhm.
Actually, I listen to that a lot. Like when I'm on a long drive or a long flight, I love listening to that.
Me too.
Ethan and Elo, they're both so funny.
Yeah.
But I have listened to the Bill Burr podcast a couple times. But generally, I just like watching the
Totally.
Netflix specials.
It's cool because if you ever listen to a lot of them and they get into like the touring life or coming up with a set and like rehearsing jokes and bombing in front of a room, there's actually so many similarities between a lot of these stand-up comics and musicians. And I actually take a lot of joy out of just listening to them talk about that because I find so much relation to it. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, totally. There's a lot to relate to there.
Yeah. So
For sure.
do you watch a lot of Tetris videos? Like, so I know you've always been into competitive online games like Tetris, and when I last came over, you were super into Slither.io.
Actually, no, not Slither. I was playing Agar.
Oh, it's their
Agar?
other game, the like cannon
The
game.
one that it's like the blob that you got to eat the other blobs. It's just a stupid game to pass the time. But yeah, like I generally am kind of competitive with like my gaming. I've actually clocked a number of hours with Rocket League,
Really?
but I don't play Rocket League anymore.
Well, when
I
I
have to step back.
when I added you the other day on Switch, I was surprised to see your hours on Tetris. I don't know if you want me to tell people your hours. I don't. It was in the hundreds, past 500.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
Yeah, look, I like Tetris, and it's so like Tetris 99 on the Nintendo Switch, right? It's it's such an underrated game, and it's free when you get like the online subscription, which is only $20 a year.
Yeah.
So it's like, fuck, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Plus, you get a bunch of other games, but like, it's so chill, man. Like, I know it's a stressful fucking game, but for me, when I'm playing Tetris, all you can really think about is Tetris because things are happening so fast. So it's almost like meditative.
That's what I love
And-
about Smash Bros. Like I'm super into Smash Bros. And I just love it because when I'm playing, especially online, I'm so focused because all I want to do is win. And you can pick it up for like 1 or 2 games and put it back down. But in that like few moments, it's just focus. And when you're killing it, you feel like a god. It's so fun.
Yeah, you're like, I'm the greatest human being alive.
Yeah. Dude, what were your stats the other day on Tetris? You told me you were in the top 6, something like 80% of the time. You had like a crazy stat.
Well, I've played over 5,000 games, and I've won like over 1,000 games of those. So my win rate is like, so basically when I sit down to play Tetris, 1 out of 5 of the games I'll win. Like 20% of the time I'm winning. But sometimes I have like pretty decent win streaks where I'll get like 8 wins out of 10 or something crazy.
And for people that don't know,
I guess like
you're playing against. Oh, sorry, we glitched out there. For people that don't know, you're playing like 100 people per game too. Like you're not just beating one person, you're beating 99 other people, or 98. I don't know how it works.
For those of you who don't know what Tetris 99 is, it's basically like a battle royale game similar to Fortnite, where you all like parachute in and then you have to kill each other, and the last man standing is the winner of that game. It's the same as Tetris. Every time you clear a line, you send a line to someone else and their shit gets higher. And when their shit goes to the top, they're out. So, every game you're against 98 other players, and you just have to play Tetris as fast as you can.
That's nuts.
To fucking win.
That's crazy.
It's so stupid. It's such a stupid game, but it's so satisfying as well.
Yeah.
It's nothing beats like just slamming blocks down. I don't know, man. I'm into it.
Okay, and then complete opposite to that. So obviously you like competitive games. I also saw you recently got Animal Crossing. You played a bit of Animal Crossing, and that's probably the least competitive game in existence. Have you been enjoying it? Like, was it a good buy?
Yeah, it was definitely a good buy. I think it's like, the opposite spectrum of Tetris, like where if Tetris is so intense that you literally can't think about anything else, then Animal Crossing is so chill that
you literally don't think about anything else.
You're so chilled out, you like almost fall asleep when you're playing it, because you're just like, there's no like expectations, there's no competitiveness. You're just walking around like, maybe I'll catch a fish. Maybe I'll
Yeah.
fucking
Dude, I'll sit on
plant
this
a tree.
rock.
Yeah, I'm gonna water these fucking plants.
Yeah, it's like butter on your brain. Like the new one.
Yeah.
Okay, the sound is so good. Visually, it's stunning. Music's
Yeah.
amazing. There's actually
The
always something
music
to
is
do.
great.
The music's
The music
so
is-
good.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Anytime I buy a track in the morning and I load it into my stereo and I'm
Right,
like, oh
the KK.
shit, yeah, I got KK Gumbo today. Let's check this out. Like,
Yeah.
dude, the music.
I think I mailed you. Did I mail you some decks?
No,
Oh,
no, you didn't.
dude, one of my first days in Animal Crossing, I went up to his tree and shook it,
Yeah.
and some like turntables and a mixer fell out.
Dude, I'd love that. So my plan is my whole bottom left of my map, I'm gonna turn into a festival. Like I want a big stage with DJ
That's what
decks.
I already did.
What? Okay, well you gotta have me over. I gotta come chill on your island.
That's what I've already done. Like, not like it's not finished, but yeah, literally the same thing. I had like, before I had all the recipes, I made like bird houses and tiki torches. Like bird houses were like the tweeters, right?
Yeah, that's tight.
And
Today
tiki torches.
Today I got the ability to terraform, so now I can actually like shape the whole island. But I'm waiting. I've like set this rule where when I first wake up, I play a little bit, and then I try not to play until the end of the day, which I'm not always that good at.
I haven't played any today because I had to get to work. I was all inspired and actually got to work. But yeah, I usually play in the morning.
Yeah.
You know, you get the fossils and catch some butterflies and shit.
Yeah. Here, I'm gonna do a quick podcast faux pas. I'm gonna run to the bathroom, but I'll edit this out. So, anyone listening, I'll be back.
I'm gonna grab another beer.
Yep. Cheers, by the way.
Cheers.
Although we are from the same city, we can't see each other, so it's nice to be able to do this. So one of the last times I came over to work on a song with you, we went for lunch, and I asked you a little bit about how you got into DJing and production and what brought you to Canada. And I thought it was really interesting, and I don't know if you've talked about it on your YouTube channel before, but I'd love to hear more about, why did you start DJing? How did you start DJing? And how did that develop into you coming to Canada? I'm so curious. I'm sure people would love to hear.
Yeah, okay. How did I start DJing is kind of an interesting question, because I guess you have to go back to how I started producing, because I started producing first before I started writing music. And this is actually, I'm learning, this is becoming a kind of a cliche, but my dad bought me the PlayStation game Music, and I really, really liked it.
Yeah.
And it got me hooked on creating music. And then another one of my friends, my brother's friends, a little bit older, he had a cracked copy of Fruity Loops 3.4 or something.
Yeah.
And he installed it on the family computer. And I was like, oh my God, this is the shit.
Yeah.
And I started using Fruity Loops so much. I made terrible music, little hip hop beats. I even invited my friends over that were like wannabe rappers to like rap on my hip hop beats.
Really?
And I didn't even really have like a microphone, so we just like janked something together with like just headphone jacks and whatever. It was just so awful.
And how many years ago would this have been?
15
Wow.
years ago.
Crazy.
Or 17 years. I was 15 years old at the time. I'm
Really?
33 now. So 15 to like 18, I was like using Fruity Loops.
Wow.
And eventually I moved out of my parents' place into a house that was kind of like comprised of a few musically inclined people. And we threw a few house parties. And my roommates knew that I was into music. So they were kind of like, why don't you play some music? And that's kind of where this trigger or this switch in my brain kind of flipped, where I was like, I can write music, but I can also play music for people. And I started getting interested in DJing. And then one of my roommates had a friend who was supposed to play this gig at this little underground cafe. It's just like background music for when people are eating pizza and shit,
Yeah.
right? There's like a theater up top and a restaurant down bottom. So people go to the theater shows and then they come down for a beer and a pizza. And the owner of that place wanted a DJ to kind of keep people there and keep people drinking and stuff. So anyway, my roommate at the time had a friend who couldn't make it to his gig that was booked at that place. And they asked me,
Nice.
why don't you go and play a show? And I was like, oh, really? Like, I'm a drum and bass DJ, I think. I wanted to be a drum and bass DJ.
Yeah.
I love drum and bass. So my whole library was drum and bass music. I was using Tractor at the time with not even a controller, just a mouse, like a computer mouse. And I was like clicking the buttons on the fucking screen of my PC laptop. Yeah. And I didn't have a sound card. So I actually had a headphone jack cable to 2 RCAs, but I snipped that off with scissors and then soldered on 2 sets of RCAs. So I had mono sound. It was janky as fuck. But like back then, it was pretty. Back then, there wasn't too many options, and I didn't have a lot of money, so I just janked something together. Anyway, I rolled up and played the show, and I was so intense about it. I made like business cards, I made a demo CD, and I just did everything I could to like impress the owner. And before I even started, I gave the owner of the club like my business card and mix CD and email address or whatever. And he just hired me right then. He was just like, you can play every Friday and Saturday night. And so and just like that, he was like, fuck this other guy. you can play every Friday and Saturday night. And I wasn't doing like 1 hour sets. I was doing like 5 hour sets, 8 hour sets. It was like, get there in the evening when dinner service starts and you're not leaving until we close, which is like midnight, right?
Wow.
So, and I would have to pull the speakers out of the storeroom and set them up, set up like all my other gear. I had like milk crates on top of a table with like tablecloth on top of the milk crates. And I would have to get there early enough to set all that up and then leave after I broke it all down. And I did that for 2 years.
Holy. And were you playing like, did you end up starting to play pop music while you were doing that? Or did they give you liberties and you were still able to play electronic music?
Well, I was always in the mindset that I wanted to do a good job. I wanted to keep this DJ gig because I'm getting paid $20 an hour, 2 beers and a pizza, right? To play fucking music.
Yeah.
Like, what a fucking deal.
Yeah.
That is I'm in heaven, you know? Like, so I did everything I could to make sure that I was going to keep my job.
Yeah.
And so I would play music and I would intensely like look at what was happening with the crowd. Not that there was much a crowd, but there was like a few people and sometimes I'd play some music and people would start dancing and I'd be like, oh, I need more of whatever this shit is.
Mm-hmm.
And what I discovered was people liked music that they were familiar with. And people liked funky kind of music in this spot. So I was playing lots of funk, lots of hip hop and that kind of thing. And sometimes I would try a song that was especially funky, in my opinion anyways, but maybe not as popular or well known. And it would bomb. People would just leave the dance floor. So what I did was I took an a cappella from a hip hop song, a popular, well-known hip hop song, like maybe a Beastie Boys thing or something.
Yeah.
And in Ableton, I put it on top of this funky song that I found that I thought like people need to hear this. People need to dance to this. This is great. I started making mashups essentially, and I started DJing them at this shitty little bar.
Yeah.
And they were going off, man.
That's
like
sick.
They were going off.
That's crazy.
And that's kind of how I got back into production after starting with production, moving into DJing, and then going back into production.
Yeah, which is crazy because it's completely carried over to what you do now. Like even when I see you live, although obviously there's a lot of originals and stuff you find online, because electronic music is popular for what we do now, you still do add these acapellas or these edits or these mashups that are so exciting for people. And I see it live too. And I get a lot of watching your sets. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think you could probably describe like all of my DJ sets with one word, and it's kind of like nostalgia, because I just love going back to the classics and breathing like new life into those old songs that are maybe not forgotten, but well loved. But maybe you don't often hear these songs in a fucking electronic music club setting or festival setting. And so I love to like take those songs and just like bring them into Ableton and just like beef them up and like make them like club ready, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's cool. And I even consider your production to be nostalgic in the sense that if you take a funk break or a funk groove or a funk bass line and you add that into your song, even that melodic or rhythmic familiarity is a sense of nostalgia. At least I get that from your music, and the whole funk scene is it is kind of this, the whole thing feels like a throwback even when it's super modern, which is super cool.
Yeah, it's like making throwbacks that are actually new.
So how did you end up in Canada? What brought you to Canada?
Right. Yeah. So fast forward a little bit from that cafe, I got a few other gigs. I met a few people. I started playing all around Brisbane, the city that I grew up in. And then I even started like flying down to Sydney and playing shows there. And I was still kind of just like a local DJ, but I was DJing and really focusing on my production and making mashups and edits and bootleg remixes and stuff like that. And of course, at the same time, I was looking for other people that was making that kind of stuff. And I eventually stumbled across a record label called Good Groove that were releasing some really great, like simple bootlegs, and they were perfect for my sets. And they were really working. And one of the guys on there, Featurecast, he released, I think it was the third Good Groove record ever. And I'd never heard of him before, but I immediately reached out to him and I was like, on MySpace, this is MySpace days. Okay.
Oh yeah. Back in the day.
I reached out to him on MySpace and I was like, yo man, I'm a producer too. Like check out some of my mashups or bootlegs or whatever you want to call them. And by the way, your shit's great. And then he heard my stuff and recommended me to the owner of that record label of Good Groove. And he kind of put in a good word for me. So props to Featurecast. Thank you, Lee, for doing that. But he put in a good word for me. And then I ended up releasing my first vinyl printed record on Good Groove Records. It was a 3 or 4 track EP. And the very same year, I guess the Good Groove record label had some contacts with the Shambhala Music Festival. So when I released that EP, I was sort of immediately on the Shambhala radar. And it just so happened that that same year when I released that EP, someone had dropped out or cancelled their booking with Shambhala. And they were looking for a last minute sort of fill in. This is like maybe a month or two before the festival was supposed to happen. And I got booked somehow, a stroke of luck or something. But they booked me to play at the Fractal Forest. And my set was like 11 p.m. on Friday night or something. I was like, this is like a prime slot. I don't know why or how, but I got a prime slot. It was something like that. I can't remember. It's like 10 years ago now.
Yeah.
It was 2009. And I just played this show and killed it.
That's
I guess,
insane.
because they invited me back again and again. And then eventually I just got sick of flying back and forth. And I thought, my music is more popular here in Canada versus Australia. I'm just going to move to Canada and play shows until the money dries up. And I'm still here 7 years later.
That's it. So money hasn't dried up.
No, it hasn't.
Besides quarantine.
Yeah. Well, you can't really DJ a show in quarantine.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, when this is all said and done, you're going to be hitting the ground running. What are you working on right now? Like obviously you've had to adapt your plans. Maybe you can't say much, but what are you doing, or what are your goals? I think I'd love to know, what's next with you and what's coming.
Well, stuff that I've already finished. I feel like I can probably talk about this. YouTube has asked me to create another 10 songs for their audio library. So I wrote another 10 songs. I actually did it in 2.5 months. I wrote one song a week for 10 weeks consecutively.
That's insane.
And there's some bangers in there. I got to say, I'm so excited to share them with you, but I don't know what's happening. I've reached out to Google a couple times, my contact at Google. When are you releasing the songs? But I haven't heard anything back. I assume they're just putting this on the back burner for another date when everything calms down after COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
So there's 10 bangers just waiting there.
Well, for everyone out there, I've heard them. They are insane. They are incredible. You sent me the album a few weeks ago. I don't think I ever replied to you, but I listened to it. It was sick.
Yeah, there's like some drum and bass in there. And anyways, so beyond that, I was working with D-Funk, Canadian D-Funk.
Mm-hmm.
We wrote a new collab together. It's kind of like a synthwave sort of Oliver type track.
I also heard it. Also banging.
Yeah, I'm really stoked with that. And we're just shopping it around to a few labels, but I think we have a label in mind. We'll see what the label thinks.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully it works out.
Is your goal moving forward? Like, is label something you see value in? Like, what's kind of your opinion? Because I know you've done a ton of self-releasing, and you've also done a lot with labels. And I'm super curious what your opinion is. Not shitting on any labels, but I'd love to know what you think, because I get a lot of messages of people thinking labels are 100% the way to go, and I think sometimes labels can be good, can be bad. I'm curious what your opinion is, though.
Yeah, I think what I like about releasing music independently is that you can write a song and then immediately decide when you want to release it and just fucking put it out there, and then it's out there. Because after I finish a song, I don't know about you, but I just want to share it with everyone and I want them all to hear it. And I'm not really concerned with like the business aspect of like promotion and blah, blah, blah. That stuff's kind of boring to me. So independent releases, I can just like write a song and just slam it out, and that's great. But that be said, I guess the whole reason why I'm in the position that I'm in right now is because of some record labels sort of helping me out in the beginning. And I think it's good to do a little bit of both. With releasing music with a record label, obviously the record label is probably going to have a larger following than you do at the moment. And so by releasing on a record label, maybe not like if you have like 100 followers on SoundCloud, you should not be sending your demos to, Ozla or Monster Cat or something, because they're just going to ignore you, bro.
Mm-hmm.
So hit up some smaller boutique labels with maybe like 10,000 followers or a smaller audience, and you can kind of like step your way up, and you step into that record label realm. People recognize who you are. They like your music. They follow you. And then you step away from that record label and move up to the next record label. That's kind of what I've been doing. And really, on the lower spectrum of things, I guess record labels cannot always be the most professional to deal with. There's a lot of money that is just kind of floating around that probably should be in my bank account, but isn't. And you just kind of have to move forward, and then hopefully deal with more professional labels that do what they say they're going to do.
Yeah. I've always thought about it as like the only reason you should go to a label is that label can provide things you can't. And that could be a lot of things. Like, can you not afford mastering an art and you really need it? Can you not promote it yourself where they can do a better job? That's kind of how I see it. But if a label can't really provide that, you're going to lose a lot of time. Like anytime I've worked with labels on anything bigger than a single, it takes months to come out. It isn't like you submit, they accept, and they set a date. It takes months to come out. And that can be, as you're saying, it sucks to kind of write something and not just put it out, because by the time it comes out, I don't even want to promote it because I'm thinking about the new shit I'm working on.
Yeah, I've already lost my stoke for that song.
Exactly.
But yeah, what you said about, look, when you release with a record label, generally they'll take a 50% cut of like all the money that is generated through that release. So in my eyes, they need to be doing like some serious work to earn that money. And just for everyone listening, you could be a record label owner tomorrow. All you have to do is click a few buttons on a few websites and suddenly you're a record label. But, so a lot of these people that are portraying themselves as like really cool record labels and stuff don't actually have much more than like, say, a Facebook page and maybe like a mailing list. And if you already have that, then you probably don't need a record label. Mm-hmm. But that said, like some of these record labels have very large mailing lists and stuff like that. And so it's a good way to kind of get your tunes out there quickly. But just know that you could be a record label owner tomorrow.
100%. And it's never been easier. Like joining a distribution company, you can literally do it for free now. Like I use 1RPM, literally free. Easy.
Yeah, it's so easy. Yeah. And then boom, you have a record label. And so anyone like kind of boasting and demanding clout for like, I run like 2-3 record labels, that honestly doesn't mean shit, dude. Like tell me how many records you've sold. If you've sold like thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions, okay, that's some clout shit. But owning hundreds of record labels or something, it's just, literally you're just clicking buttons. So just keep that in mind. What is the record label actually providing you? And what, like, look at the reach of the record label. Look at the social, look at their socials and see what their interaction is like. And yeah.
Completely. No, that's amazing. And I think you just offered some incredible insight. And I just really want to thank you. I don't want to take up too much of your time here. We're probably passing an hour, but I think you really provide a lot of value for the community and a lot of information. Is there anything kind of final you wanted to say to people? You did mention the record you're working on. Is there anything else, or is there anything you really want people to listen to or check out, or any final thoughts? I'd love to know.
Well, actually, I would like to know about you a little bit.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, let's flip it. I'm into it.
Yeah. I mean, tell me about this new Monster Cat release. Tell me everything about that.
Sweet. Okay, so you know about it, and anyone that was on Twitch knows about it, because that's actually the first time I talked about it. Yeah, April 21st, I have a track coming out on Monster Cat with Sabai. I know, dude. I've been gunning for this for so long. I think Monster Cat being a local label, being as strong as they are, it really has been a goal of mine. I mean, no one can see this, but I'll turn the camera around. Actually, I have like this giant Monster Cat flag just like right in front of my
You're
desk.
a fanboy.
Oh, yeah. Fanboy as it gets. Actually, it's my girlfriend's, but I'm going to take credit for it anyways. How it came about, I've been wanting to release with them for a really long time. I've been sending them music for a really long time. And I just slowly cultivated this relationship with the A&R. And he gave me really good feedback on all my music. And actually, funny enough,
when you say you've been sending the music for a really long time, what does that actually mean?
I've been sending them demos for 1.5 years, 2 years, where every 3 months I probably send them a bundle of like 5 new songs I've been working on, and everyone has gotten rejected.
Yeah.
And funny enough, this one didn't even have to do with that cultivated relationship. I should say that I've just been cultivating a relationship with the team for a long time, where I've just started to get to know people on the team, and they several of them understand my interest and admiration of them. And I actually started working with Sabai, who is an employee there as well as an artist there. And him and I worked on this track that's coming out called Save You. And, obviously with him working there and releasing there, he has this kind of past history. So I think, him and I together, they really wanted to support the track. And he actually just released his first song with them called Million Days, like a month or two ago. And they wanted to keep the momentum going.
So he's like a newbie as well.
Yeah, he's pretty new to them as well, although he's a lot more part of the family. Like he's worked there for 3, 4, 5 years, I think. So honestly, this single has less to do with me, but I still think it has to do a lot with just this goal, this mindset, that I've wanted to work with them for a really long time.
That's so crazy that you spent a year and a half just writing songs and sending them to Monster Cat and then writing more songs. Like they would be like, nah, these are shit. And then you're like, fuck you, I'm going to write more songs and send them to you. Just like that relentless, just like, you're just like, you see a brick wall and you've only got your head and you just run at the brick wall with your head. And then eventually you just crack a hole through it.
Yeah. And it took, I've sent them over 20 songs easily in that time.
Yeah.
And a lot of those songs afterwards don't even get released because how I've started to think is, I'm only as good as my last at bat. So the last song I release is the most recent representation of myself. And anything that is less than that, I really get discouraged in releasing. So I write a lot of music that I don't release because I don't feel it broke the threshold of my last release in quality.
Oh, that's such a shame though. I'd love to hear those tunes.
They're for live shows. I end up using them for live shows.
Okay.
Yeah. So they do have a purpose, but they're almost like sacrificial lambs in a sense where they're not used for for the constant content. They're used for the come to this show or listen to this mixtape, you'll hear some unreleased music.
Yeah. I'm going to say something, but side note, your video has unsynced with your
I saw that too. It did this morning when I was teaching. There's nothing I can do about it. Sorry, guys. Delay.
Okay. It's all good. Anyways, I think that's just like amazing how determined you are to just keep slamming away. And I mean, I think I'm kind of like a firm believer in trying to maximize the amount of value you get out of the work that you do. Like, let's say you write a song, right? What can you do with that song to maximize the amount of value that you get out of that song? You can put it up for sale. You can play it in a live show. What else can you do? You can pick it apart for pieces and sell a sample pack. You can sell the project file. You can make a tutorial on how you made that bass line and whatever. And I'm a firm believer in whenever you do anything production related, there should be a number of ways you can use that time to, just there has to be like a number of ways to kind of gain value off of that.
Yeah,
and I guess like
not make it wasted time.
Yeah, because otherwise, like what you were saying is that you're just writing all these songs to try and get. If your only goal was to get a track on Monster Cat, then yeah, you're gonna get there eventually. But there's so much wasted time. But all those songs that aren't getting released with Monster Cat, yeah, you can throw them in your live show. And I've seen your live shows and they're banging.
Yeah, and I should say several of the songs haven't been released, but a lot have. Like I kind of approach it as this trickle down system, where I write songs. The main goal is to get them on Monster Cat. Monster Cat rejects it. Okay, then where do I send them now? Do I send it to this label? Does it become solo? And then eventually a handful of them make it to the very bottom where I'm like, no one picked them up. I don't really like them anymore. Scrap it for parts or something. But even that, scrapping a song for parts is really beneficial, where sometimes what I'll do is I'll take a song and I'll just like take the presets out of it or cut it up into stems that I can remix later or throw it in a live set. So nothing goes completely to waste. Yeah.
No, that's a really smart way to think about it. And it blows my mind how many songs you must write. I mean, I thought I was pretty productive, and I think a lot of people look at me, a lot of my peers look at me and think like I'm some kind of producer machine and I just cranking out songs all the time. But even me compared to you, like I feel like you're cranking out even more songs than that. And yeah, you fucking work hard, man. I think you really deserve this like Monster Cat release. I'm
Thanks,
really
man.
stoked for you.
Yeah, I
I'm really
really
stoked
hope
for
it
you.
goes well. I really hope it opens doors. And more than anything, I just hope that they take more. You know, I hope that they like this one
They
and
will.
they're open to more. But yeah, I mean, I think anyone out there just with a goal in mind, just keep at it. Just keep
Yeah.
going. And I
You want
think
it so bad and you're going to get it.
100%. There are a lot of people that know me that know even though I've been sending them demos for 2 years, I've wanted this for like 3, 4, 5 years. You know what I mean? Like this isn't
Yeah.
a recent thing. And I think it also is just very motivating to have some sort of big goal, sometimes that seems unachievable, gives you a reason to wake up in the morning and keep working, as long as you don't get discouraged by it.
Yeah. And you know what? That's actually kind of inspiring to me to hear you say that because I feel like I think I'm a little bit older than you, right? How old are you?
25, so I think you got a
Yeah.
little bit, but a tiny bit of time.
I remember like, maybe 10 years ago, 7 years ago, something like that, where I did have like some really large, almost seemingly unobtainable goals. And, I would always kind of keep them in the back of my mind. Like, that's kind of what I'm going for. That's what I'm going for. But I sort of like achieved all them. I've like already like done all those things. So like I've toured Europe and I've released a number of records on vinyl and I played festivals and stuff. And I think I need to take some time to sit down and think like, well, what's next? Like, what is my next goal? Because I almost don't have the capacity to dream beyond what I've already achieved, which is a lot.
Although to contradict myself, similar to what you're saying, and for anyone listening, this is not supposed to sound conceited or anything, but maybe you feel this way too, where you set these goals and then you achieve them, and achieving them doesn't feel like what you expected it to feel like. You say like, oh, I'm going to get on this label or I'm going to play this festival. And then you get there and it's not actually as satisfying as you thought it was. And what was actually more satisfying was the goal and actually trying to achieve it and just living your life day to day versus the actual event itself.
You're so fucking on it, dude. That's exactly what it's like. It's not like in your head when you make a goal, you're like, oh, it's going to be the best when you achieve that goal. When you get that set, when you get booked for Shambhala or whatever, it's going to be the best. But really, it's the process. It's like the everyday, it's working toward, it's the journey, not the destination. I know how cliche that sounds, but you're so fucking right about that. And every day when you sit down, you have this like distant goal in mind, but it's more just like every day you're kind of just working on it. And yeah.
Well, I mean, like I am literally no happier now than when I first started producing and was stoked opening Ableton for the first time. And I don't mean I'm depressed. I just mean like when you first start producing, you're so excited. It's a new thing. It's a new goal. That feeling is pretty much the same. You know, like when I played Shambhala, it's still like, yay, but it's not anything more incredible than just every day just getting up and writing music and being motivated. And I think people need to understand that being achieving these huge goals, these huge dreams is not as satisfying as just enjoying the day-to-day, being motivated, being happy, etc.
Yeah. And I think that's actually the key to becoming a great producer or becoming great at anything really, is just to learn how to love the things that you do every day that contribute towards that goal of becoming whatever you want to be or being good at really, really good at things. Yeah, I mean, I'm the same, man. Like every time I open up a new piece of like software or Ableton has a new update, I'm just like, oh, what's new now? Like this is so cool. And I just want to teach everyone about it. And I'm just so stoked when I write a cool bass line and I'm just like in my studio, like, yeah, and like times that I have here in this fucking studio right here are almost equally as satisfying as times spent in front of thousands of people DJing,
Mm-hmm.
throwing finger guns and stuff.
Which is good because you're going to be more satisfied than the people that always want more. Like, although I set these big goals, I think they're good for work, but it's about being satisfied, like genuinely just happy, grateful. Life's good, man. Life's good. Oh,
Yeah, totally.
cool, man. Well, I don't want to take too much of your time. I know we tried to end this 20 minutes
Oh, it's
ago,
all good,
but-
man. It's all good.
No, you got some Tetris to get to, and I got some Smash Bros to get to.
Yeah. What are we at? Like 65 minutes? That's cool.
Yeah, but do you have any last plugs you want to do? Anything you want people to check out or be aware of, keep on their radar?
Yeah, I mean, if you're interested in music production, definitely check out my YouTube tutorials and also head to my website, slynk.net, where I'm selling some Ableton tools and I have a sample pack. I don't have a lot to sell there. It's more just like, if you like what I'm doing, there's a way to support me there on the website. But yeah, keep an eye out. I've got a new video coming out real soon about Serato Studio, which is great for beginner producers.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I'll have to check that one.
Yeah, I think you'll like it actually.
Cool. Well, yeah, thanks, man. Everyone go check out Slynk. Check him across his socials. That's SLYNK if for some reason you didn't read the title of this video. And yeah, appreciate it. That's another episode of the podcast in the wraps. Thanks, man. I appreciate your time.
For sure, I enjoyed it too.
Yeah, I'm going to stop recording, but you hang around anyways. I'm going to talk to you more. Cool. Peace,
Yeah.
everyone. See ya.
Peace.